As you know, if you've been watching the show, each week we like to break down the stories from the three levels of government with CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid, and he joins us live now. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, guys.
Scott, it's good to see you this morning. This would not be good to see come Friday morning, but the potential is really there of a possible TTC strike. TTC strikes now just days away. That would bring transit in the city to a halt. Gridlock downtown would get worse than it already is. Not an ideal scenario for the mayor or anyone in the municipal government.
No, I think people in Toronto will be up in arms. It's so difficult to move around this city already. All of the lagging challenges we've had with public transit and the TTC specifically since the pandemic. And then we're going to compound that with a strike. I heard the union leader on the radio with our friend John Moore this morning, and he was giving no quarter. Right. Now, I think what's going to be really interesting is you would expect, if you're drawing this up on the chalkboard, that it will go down to the 11th hour. Because you would expect that no one wants to blink until then. But this is a really big test for the city leadership. They just can't allow this to happen. And if it happens, they're going to have to move swiftly. And so that means working with the province, trying to get those workers back on the job as fast as possible. And it's a particular challenge for Olivia Chow and her administration. Right. She's a new Democrat. She's all about working with labor.
Friendly,
and she gets a labor challenge. So in a weird way, it's a big opportunity for her, if I sound kind of craven here. It's an opportunity for her that even though she's a new Democrat, if she can't get a deal with these guys, that she's willing to stand up and be tough on this issue. So watch that space, and also watch Jamal Myers, who's the TTC chair. That guy has some political game, and it's going to be interesting to watch him navigate this challenge.
It is indeed, yeah.
Okay, we'll wait just a few more days from now. Meantime, provincially, the hangover continues with the Ford government's push to put alcohol in corner stores.
Right here on this table, everywhere in the province.
And the cost is like from hundreds of millions to billions, depending on, who you believe is going to be able to really pull this off.
So what I think is so interesting about this is the issue of beer and wine in corner stores is overwhelmingly popular. When you position it as, well, why on earth wouldn't we have it? People's heads nod. They say, yeah, I want that choice. I want that convenience. You tell them it might be an extra few bucks for a pack of beer. They're like, whatever, I don't care. I'll pay more for that case of beer. But when Ford announces that he's actually going to have to pay out $225 million, maybe $600 million, maybe some people say as much as $1 billion, to those big international beer companies in order to get this deal done a few months earlier so that he can clear the tracks to have a provincial election because he wants to get one in the bank early, that becomes a political problem. But here's what I think is really interesting, people haven't paid attention to. They're talking about, oh, well, this is going to cost $600 million or $1 billion, and that gets people wound up. But the Ford government, I think, is secretly planning to not pay it. I think an equally compelling drama is I think they may just try to say, you know what, we're just going to pass legislation saying that we can abrogate this agreement. We are not going to respect the contract. That has huge implications in terms of commercial relations. It would be a NAFTA issue. We've got NAFTA issues, obviously, given that, Coors Molson is no longer in Montreal. It's, down south. So it's going to be really interesting to watch this. But the Ford government is gently pushing back behind the scenes to this idea that they're going to have to fork over $600 million.
And it's one of those kicking the can down the road, potentially, because that would get tied up in something so long that may be, so far down the road to pay it that it wouldn't necessarily be their problem. Is that kind of a potentially safe assumption?
Well, that would be the political argument. The political argument for the people who are advising Ford would be, who cares, man? They take us to court. Maybe if we lose, whatever, but we lose 6 years from now when this thing finally winds its way through NAFTA dispute resolutions and then into courts and all that. Who cares? You'll be long gone by that point. Let's get what we want now. Right. But there'll be a lot of pressure. They thought about this in 2019, and they did not do this because the business community and NAFTA discussions are ongoing, and they came down on him hard. I expect the same thing will happen. So watch that space. It's going to be interesting. Beer is never boring, and it's going to get even more exciting here in Ontario.
Depends on the brew. But I get your point in terms of the political debate, that's for sure. In the meantime, let's talk federally here because a lot of people are looking at or banking on really an interest rate cut tomorrow, maybe a 0.25% from the central bank. It's a real hot potato. Plenty of political or governments getting ready to blame the feds here at this point. This is so controversial. Really.
So we thread our way through all the headlines and news stories. What about foreign interference? What somebody said this, somebody did that. What about some video that Pierre Poilievre puts up? You want to know what's going to affect politics? What's going to change the course of politics in this country? What the Bank of Canada does. Right. If it lowers interest rates, it sends a signal that we turn the corner. Now the Trudeau government is going to be able to say, "See, we've managed this thing," and they're going to try to make that argument. The challenge, of course, is that traditionally, improving economic conditions lag a long time politically. So will he get an election? timetable that allows people to feel like they get those interest rates benefits? Will we get one tiny interest rate cut? Will we get a couple more? Will the governors indicate tomorrow maybe there's another one coming this year? So watch all of this. But I will tell you, I mean, at the end of the day, dollars drive votes. Yeah. The economy, more than anything else, dictates people's political choices, particularly when times are tough.
I take your point about the lagging indicator or the lagging effect of this, but I think, we talk to mortgage brokers and sort of real estate professionals. They say that there's a psychological impact that if you start seeing the rate go down, it at least symbolizes and signals to people, hey, this era of at least raising rates is over. That could potentially be beneficial. We'll see, but it's got to flow through. Yeah.
That is the pie that Justin Trudeau is hoping to get a fork full of, right? Like they're praying that effect will occur. Yeah. All I would say is that if you look in the past, the Conservatives did not get reelected in 91, 92.
Yep, fair enough, yeah.
But when the Liberals came in 93, they benefited from that improving economy. So sometimes the political timetable doesn't always line up with the interest rate timetable.
Okay.
Interesting stuff. Okay, CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid, always appreciate you. Have a great day, and we'll chat with you again soon.
Thanks, Scott. See you next week.
Heading Lakeside.
Yeah, heading Lakeside.